Welcome to the Swike Podcast, the only podcast that shares the stuff you didn't know you needed to know about jobs, careers, and life. The Swike Podcast, the stuff I wish I knew earlier.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Swike Stuff I Wish I Knew Earlier podcast. We're here with our guest host, Tony. Tony, how are you doing today?
I'm very good. How about you, bud?
I'm fantastic, as always. So Tony comes to us with a background in business and entrepreneurship. And, if you want to share a little bit about what you're up to these days, and then we'll go back in time and talk a little bit about your journey. So what are you up to these days, Tony?
Okay, so three major things I'm doing right now. Most importantly is I'm doing two franchises and one real estate. So The three major things: one franchise is about education, another one is food industry. I know it's a big gap there, and then the next one is real estate. So that's the three major things I'm doing right now. So for the first franchise, I have been doing this for almost 5 years.
Okay.
That's actually right after university. I had a 1 year pause, basically thinking about my life kind of thing. And then I accumulated some arrows. I did some trial and errors, and I locate this as well. I locate this industry that I really want to get into. So I just jumped in, and then I've been doing it for 5 years. So I would say that most of the experiences and most of the even the capital that I have right now is by this business. And then during the 5 years, I've been very interested in real estate, the rental markets and those renovation markets as well. So I kind of dive into that as well. So the last one is pretty recent. We've been waiting for this opportunity, and we finally nailed it. We finally nailed it literally just 1 month ago. And the third location is going to be opening up soon, somewhere in November or December, hopefully in November. Yeah, so that's what I'm up to right now.
Sounds good. So a lot of different successes there, but it may or may not have started that way. So I'd love it if we rewinded a little bit and learned a little bit about Tony as a kid. So what was Tony like as a kid? What was he like growing up? Like early fond childhood memories? What were you like as a kid?
I will put it this way. I was a very naughty kid.
Okay.
And I was that kind of kid that everyone is like, oh, Tony, oh, that kid, when people mention that kid. So back then, especially when I was young, I was really energetic. I always have different thoughts, and I like to joke around. I like to be the ones be the one in the classroom that when the teacher said something, I was like, no, I don't agree. I don't really agree with you. So I was that kind of kid, right? So I was always having a self-image as someone who's unique in a way that it's almost strange.
Okay.
Not really a likable personality. And then I had a lot of experiences with friendship that kind of got me into who I am today. That I know that in order for me to treasure, in order for me to grow and be successful, I need people that trust me. I need people who like me. So that's how I kind of need to twist my personality a little bit and learn from the brighter side, but not going deep into the dark side. So that's how I were when I was a younger kid. And by the way, I've always had the entrepreneurship spirit in myself. Partially, it's coming from my parents, my dad specifically, because he was a businessman as well. And then he's always taken me into different business environment, business scenarios, dinners, lunch, chat with his partners, right? So I kind of got the exposure of how the business world should be, and then I had that general interest into the business field because from what I could remember is that he would be able to touch into different industries and meet different people, doctors, lawyers, accountants, all that kind of people. And then that just got me very excited and very, hey, you know what? This is one, if I just do business, I can get in touch with all industry people, everybody. And then I don't have to be just diving to just one thing and, just be very boring there. I'm always chasing after the fun, chasing after the interest. So I'm a second generation immigrant. So
Okay.
my parents took me in Canada, and when I come to Canada, the first thing I did, of course, like a lot of kids who came here when they were 17, 18, is to apply for university, get into university. So in terms of the background, in terms of the culture difference, culture shock, I was amazed by how different it is between Canada and my hometown, right?
Okay.
And I learned the Canadian way, or the Western world way of hanging out with people, of get in touch with people and grow in this environment. So that's how.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'd love if we kind of unpack some of that a little bit. So I'd love if
Mhm.
we start a little bit earlier. Okay, you're this energetic kid,
Mhm.
always sounds like it's causing trouble a little bit, being the one who
Always.
who is almost against the teacher. When did that start changing? So was it more like in the high school where you kind of realized, oh, okay, I need to surround myself with friends or people that can kind of
Okay.
help me be successful, or was that university, or when did that transition happen? Or
I'll
maybe
be
you're
perfect
naughty and you're just not
honest.
telling us, but
Yeah, I'll be perfectly honest. I was so let's put it this way. I would love your listeners to be knowing my real story as well, right?
sure.
This is a story kind of deep down. So I was a very spoiled kid.
Hmm.
My parents kind of provided everything for me,
Yeah.
and then my dad had a bankruptcy
Okay.
when I was about 16 years old, 17 years old, and that's actually partially part of the reason why we're moving to Canada as well.
Hmm.
So my parents divorced when I was about 16, and
Okay.
partially the reason over there. And then just for that short period of time, the feeling of having everything
Hmm.
to when I came to Canada, living in the basement, have nothing.
Hmm.
That's a huge difference, right? And then it took me a while for me to even adjust to the real world
Okay.
and to the person who I am today. Is that if I tell you that, oh, because that one event that happened, it's always the accumulating event. And I like to
Sure.
be honest. I like to be straightforward with you because hey, you want to know my story, and this is my story, right? And I believe everyone's story is different. And my story, my life changing event, really is the immigration and the
Hmm.
divorce of my parents that left a huge impact in my life. And at that particular moment, I know that if I'm still the boy that I was before, the naughty kid, the spoiled kid, and wanted to have, and could have access to a lot of things, I will fail. I will definitely fail. And then
Yeah.
at that particular moment, I still remember it was a summertime too. And my mom's like, hey, you know what? You need to go out and find a job. You need to
Hmm.
go, whatever you want can do. If it's cash job, it's $10, $9, that's fine. You have to get into society. You have to have an accelerated course to know how real life is. And
Yeah.
then, a 17-year-old boy, very new to the country and knows pretty much nothing about how the system and how the culture works. I just have to, get my foot wet. And then that's how I mature so fast and mature
Hmm.
so, I would say, so deeply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I would take from that is there's a quote that I love, and I was just chatting with someone earlier about this.
Mhm.
For there is nothing good or bad,
Mhm.
and thinking makes it so. Right? Because
Yes.
on face value, like having to move halfway across the world, dad having bankruptcy, getting into divorce, that sounds horrible. That
Yes.
sounds not very good at all. But
Yes.
the silver lining is, well, that version of Tony would have been a spoiled brat. that wouldn't have been able to accomplish much. But now Tony's a man with like 2 franchises and a real estate business that's thriving and has a lot more lessons to share with other folks. So
100%.
there's definitely a goodness that came out
Yeah.
about that.
Sometimes I believe in the parallel world, right?
Yeah.
The parallel universe. I feel like that's exactly kind of matched in what we're talking about right now. If I
Yeah.
was the spoiled kid I was before, I wouldn't be the man I am right now.
Yeah.
Very good
And I'd love
question.
if you are willing to kind of take us back. So let's see if you can even remember. So mom
Mm.
says, "Hey, you need to go get a job," right?
Mm.
You're new to the country, you don't really know, like, what's the thought going in your head? What are the first things that you decide to do? Are you like going on the internet and trying to find a job? Are you like have a pack of resumes and walking down the street with it, or asking friends? What was that process like?
Well, the first thing that I said to my mom is to remember, hell no. It's like, oh, there's no way for me to do it. There's no way for me to do it because I don't know. Like I don't have any techniques. I don't have skills. I don't have nothing. And I still remember my mom and my dad, my stepdad. They took a newspaper. You know how the Chinese newspaper over here. Yeah. They have a lot of advertisements. Basically, find jobs over there. So they were like, "Hey, you know what, Tony? Let's do that."
Right.
You make the call. You call them. You can call them in Chinese as well. I'm like, okay, you know what? I will try it. I don't know. And guess what? The first call I had, the guy's like, hey, you know what? We need some manpower over here. So my first job was on the construction site, moving sandbags.
Okay.
So that's how it gets started. I'm like, hey, this is not too bad. I went there, and then it was so hard. It was so hard. I sweat a lot. It's a 2 weeks kind of experiences, and at the end of 2 weeks. It was actually from my mom. My mom was like, "Oh my God, this 2 weeks you become so much darker, and then you're having so much injuries on your arms, and you shouldn't be doing it. So let's find something that's in a restaurant or something." So in that one summertime, I did construction. I was helping someone who's cutting trees. I was helping someone moving sandbags. I was in a restaurant and being a waiter, being a busboy there.
Right.
So remember, the restaurant's name, I don't know if you tried this, all you can eat restaurant called Matsuda. So they had that back then. They had a new location which has teppanyaki at the first, and that was in Dunn Mills in York Mills. So that's that's the first restaurant experience that I had right there.
Sounds good. So shout out to Matsuda, Dunn Mills, and York Mills if anybody's in the Toronto area and want to check them out. And so this is you're 17, and that's are you not yet in university, or you were going into it, or like where is that? Because I'm curious to hear the transition into school. Like what was that transition like?
So I haven't been in university yet. I literally just graduated high school. So by the way, when I mentioned I'm 17, because my birthday is August, right? My birthday is August the 4th. So for that 1 month, 2 months from June to July. So that's the 2 months where I had the experiences of the construction site and restaurant. And then that time I have already had an offer from UTSC. And then even by choosing UTSC was really just because it's close to home, because we used to live in Scarborough, right?
Right.
And then I haven't really accepted any offer yet. Again, I got this feeling that, I wanted to be close to home. So I will be able to help my mom and dad out. And at the same time, I really don't know which school should I go to, because I have no information about that. I just know, I get into the school. So I made a decision, I believe. By then I made a decision, I'm going to go UTSC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. So you're now started in UTSC, and I can guess that you're pretty good at making friends. What was that process like to kind of immerse yourself in the university environment?
So first year, second year was actually kind of, if I looked back, it was the best time of my life. Okay. First year and second year, I made a lot of friends because, we have a lot of clubs. We have a lot of events that I can go to, right? And being in management gives me a lot of exposure to these networking events as well. And I was able to, know a lot of people, know a lot of mentors as well, including Lukey. I know Lukey. I think I know you from third year or fourth year. I think it's fourth year. Okay. Yeah, I think it's fourth year university. And that's actually introduced by another that thing was called the Hub, right? Mm-hmm. I was introduced by William, who was the one who kind of got in touch with me. We're going to talk about the story a little bit later, but my first year and second year really is just a lot of fun. I would say a lot of fun, meeting a lot of people. But I'll be perfectly honest, I by that time, I don't really know which industry I'm going into. Okay. I'm not sure whatsoever. My primary goal is to get a higher GPA and get a co-op job. I remember at that time, I believe that we're trying to seek for a co-op opportunity in second year. Okay. And then basically my first year is, building my resume and doing all the pre-work so that I can be able to place in the first co-op position. And then getting to second year, when I find my first co-op, it was in a small marketing firm.
Okay.
I believe it's called Chilo Graphics.
Mm-hmm.
I had 4 months over there, learned quite a lot, but then again, that kind of confirmed at that particular moment, I confirmed my idea of that I don't really like to be in a corporate, or even I don't want to work for someone. I want to work for myself.
Sure.
So, and not because the experience is not good. It's just when you are working, when you're constantly working, you kind of have an idea, right? And throughout the university time, from first year to fourth year, I believe. First year, I landed a job at Home Depot. That's my first official Canadian job that I would say. I was there for about 1 year. So I was a sales associate at flooring department. That's why even if you ask me about flooring right now, I'm like, hey, you know what, the laminate, the hardwood, I know the tiling, everything. I know everything, right? So about that. So that gives me the fundamental of how to talk to customers, how to talk to people. Right? Because I still remember I have to talk to different people from different backgrounds, contractors. Sometimes it's just customers that are coming here to grab it. And then normally what I would do is that I would locate their needs, and then I would do my best to help them. A lot of my colleagues, they're just, I feel like they're doing the job for the sake of doing the job.
Sure.
I think at that particular moment, I was like, hey, you know what? If I can affect someone's life positively by giving some advice and within my knowledge, and I can make them happy. At the end of the day, they leave a smiley face and happy face.
Yeah,
that's so good, right? It feels good, and it gives me that achievement to do so. That again goes back to the fundamental of confidence building and also the language building as well. So my English has improved a lot during that 1 year with Home Depot. Yeah. And
that's amazing.
That location is also close to home. So it's like walking distance to home. So that's perfect.
Yeah. Convenience is always helpful.
Exactly.
And so what I took from that is for those out there in school, even if you're in a co-op program, then invest some time maybe in a part-time job, a summer job or something ahead of that, because that helps with the first job, because usually the first job is the hardest to get. Right?
You got it.
When you have zero experience. So even if it's whatever, construction, restaurant, Home Depot, anywhere, like see if you can get something, and then it matures you. I think I love what you said about really having the customer in mind, like understanding their needs and helping them. It helps build confidence, helps build your language. And if you can put a smile on their face with something as simple as like advice on laminate or hardwood or whatever, then I think that's helpful as well. So I'd love if you shared a little bit. So you mentioned the first co-op term at the marketing firm, and I think you got a job at Honda afterwards. And then you alluded to that we connected at the Hub, which is the startup incubator there.
Yes.
So I'd love if you walk us through kind of that, I guess, the second co-op term / your journey into your own entrepreneurial side. If you can walk us through that.
Perfect. So, I mentioned I was in Home Depot for 1 year, right? So as a transition, what happened is that I had the first co-op term, and I had experiences with Home Depot, and I decided, hey, you know what? I need to apply for something a little bit more, basically, a little bit stepping stone to that. So I applied for, I don't even know how the hiring manager found me. I dropped a lot of resumes, right? And then I landed a job in TD, with TD. Okay. So again, they call it retail banking, right? So it's a customer service representative, and I was there with TD for almost 3 years, and during that time, I also landed a co-op term with Honda. So I was literally working TD part time, and I was also working in Honda as well. So I would go to Honda about 7:00 in the morning, finish at about 3:00. And then right away, about 1 hour drive, I have to go to the branch in TD. So that's literally my day. Sometimes I have to work like 5 days, every day for about like 12 hours each day. So again, I was young, right? University kid, have a lot of energy. I actually don't know what's tiring. And I just
Sure.
know that, and at the end of the day, it's not only for the money that I'm working for. It's
Yeah.
generally, I actually enjoy the workplace. Even for Honda, I enjoy it. I love all my
Yeah.
colleagues at Honda. They treated me really nice. And at TD as well, it's always engaging in a happy atmosphere. Whenever I'm there, it's always
Yeah.
good atmosphere there, right?
Yeah.
So, but one thing that I really learned from the like both industry, Honda and also TD, especially for TD actually, is that they have a slogan called "No need is too small and no dream is too big."
Okay.
So that kind of just embedded in my blood, and it really just affected me even up until this moment. Is that, let's say if it's yourself, right? You have a dream. You're like, hey, you know what? I want to do this, do that. Maybe to some people, it's like, oh, that's a small dream, that's a small goal. But to
Sure.
you, it's a big thing, right? So, and for the need, if you're treating someone, let's say if it's your students, if it's your client, if your customers, they have one small requirement, and you might feel that it's small, but for them, to them, it's a big thing.
Right.
It matters a lot. So take care of other people, try your best and take care of other people, and fulfill your dream. That's how what I really learned from that. And
Right.
and as I mentioned before, from Chilo Graphics, my first co-op terms, I feel like I don't really like, and I don't enjoy working for someone. So it was actually by chance. So one of my friends, also we had a couple courses taken together. His name is William Jen. I really
Mhm.
hope that later on you can have he's the accounting guy. I
Sure.
really
Yeah.
hope that you can have a podcast with him as well. So he was the one who was approaching me, because back then he had a project in year four. So fourth year, he has
Okay.
a project. It's called Trinity Twin. So he was developing this app, and then it's something related to music. I'm not going to break down into details, but he came here and approached me. He said, "Hey Tony, I'm doing this startup. I'm doing this. I'm having a group of people who's with me. I have my buddy here as well. We're with the hub, and then
Mhm.
we're trying to make this a successful startup. Do you?" So at first he was like, "Would you like to invest?"
Okay.
Honestly, I don't even know where he got that. Hey, Tony has the money. I don't know where where
Yeah.
he got that feeling from. I'm like, I found it pretty interesting. And so I was like, hey, you know what? Give me some time to think about it. So literally after 2 minutes, I found him. I found him back and like, hey, you know what? I can invest. That's the first thing. Can
Okay.
I also join your team as well? I want to learn from
Okay.
that. I wanted to join. I wanted to, have this co-op, have this startup thing with you. And then he didn't even hesitate. He was like, that sounds like a very interesting idea. So, well, let's talk to my other partners. So that's
Sure.
where everything starts. And then one little event like that, even now, when I look back, when I trace back, that one little conversation with William kind of changed my life.
Right.
So that's how I had experience and had exposure to, recruit the team first, had a concept, work with everyone in the hub, and then fail, succeed, fail again, fail again, fail again, and then succeed again. So
Yeah.
these are the experiences that back then was, just how everything started.
That's awesome. And what I took from that is sometimes opportunities just come about, but it's really up to you to seize them, right? Because you could have just said, well, no, forget about it. Or you could say,
Exactly.
oh, maybe I'll just invest. Or
Mm,
you went the step further and said, I'll invest, but I also want to be part of the team and
that's
learn. So
right.
I think that was you capitalizing on the opportunity. And the other thing that I took from that was relationships, right? Like staying connected. And oftentimes it's maybe by luck, but it's the people that you surround yourself with
Yeah.
that can help you pull things through. And I'd love if you share a little bit on your share ed story,
Oh,
a
wow.
little bit about some of those activities, if you're
Oof.
willing to
It's
share a bit about that journey.
okay. So it's long story short. If I talk about ShareAd, we can talk about it
Sure.
for
Yeah.
days probably. So initially started, the reason why we call it as ShareAd is because so back then the concept of shared economy is
Mm,
very hot, right? Everything like,
yeah.
for example, Uber,
Yeah.
Airbnb were actually something that were pretty popular back then. And then we had the mindset of, oh, you know what? Education, everyone's knowledge can be shared as well. So, for example,
Sure.
if you have knowledge, you want to share this knowledge to someone else. You don't. Someone else doesn't have to find a tutor. It just have to select. It's kind of like the app called I'm not sure if you're familiar with this called Skillshare.
Okay. Yeah.
There's an app or a platform called Skillshare. It's basically people who are willing or who are able to share the skill sets. And we wanted to have a platform that basically gives people the opportunity to do so. So initially, that's what we were thinking. We had a lot of thoughts in terms of that. But the most important thing is the structure of the business, is the structure of the idea. But in terms of execution, we were actually not really successful in terms of putting that into the real term or putting that into a real application. There's so many perspectives and so many aspects into it. One of them being the tech team, which is the developer team. We had some miscommunication with the tech team. And because that me, James, and Brian, William, were all tech, we don't have a tech background. So there are a lot of misunderstandings. There's a lot of wrongful expectation that we're having. I do think that most of the blame is by myself, because I'm that type of guy that, hey, you know what? I want this to be done. I want it to be done, but not really thinking about the realistic part of it. Like, how is it going to be done? Right? The result is definitely very important, but the process is also important. How we're going to achieve that. That process is also important too. So back then, I feel like I'm always putting my expectation, although I feel like our team feel like their expectation is good. But then if the expectation is not realistic, and then even your partners and the people who we work with feel like the same way too. Hey, it's a good idea, but these are the functions we cannot implement. These are the timelines we cannot achieve. We're going to have problems.
Right.
And at the same time, I also made a mistake too, is by exploring so many other directions. So I was really eager to make this business successful, right? So one project failed, and I immediately jumped to another project. And then one project, and in the middle of one project, I'm trying to explore another project. Although everything is education related, but they're not really relevant. And we haven't really successfully accomplished one thing, and we're already jumping to another. So I would say that I would admit back then a lot of mistakes and a lot of errors that were made by myself. I take full responsibility. I had to take full responsibility of it. Again, back then when we were doing it, I didn't feel that way. I just feel like, hey, people could not catch up with my pace. I was the fast thinking guy. I was like, hey, bam, 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 let's get it done. But then now that I look back, hey, there are so many things I haven't learned enough. I haven't maintained a relationship good enough. I haven't executed the task that were assigned to me enough. And last but not least, which is also the most important thing, is that I'm putting a lot of my thoughts in a almost dictating way to other people. Although that the team environment is good, and everyone's having fun, everyone's enjoying doing it, but I'm not really hearing a lot of advice. I'm not really really accepting and adjusting what other people's telling me. But I'm just feel like, hey, you know what? I wanted to do this way. You guys are gonna follow me, and let's do it this way, right? So that's where it lead to the final failure of okay. Let's not put it a failure. Not that successful of the ShareEd. That's my first startup business, and this is also a business with James as well, right? We had one of the pretty successful event that we had is that we had a summer camp. That was we were having some students coming from Shanghai, China. We hosted a pretty successful event, collaborating with one of the drama acting school in local Toronto. That's one of the events we're really successful. We're really successful about. But other than that, I would say ShareEd is really a trial and error for us, and especially for myself. We fail more than we succeed, but eventually we also, whoever is working in the business, we all learn a lot, learns a ton from that. Yeah. It's almost sad to describe it one more time, and it's almost sad.
Well, it's one of those things where it reminds me of a quote, never lose, win or learn,
Yeah.
right? So you can even say that none of it was a failure. It was just a huge lesson
Yeah.
that hopefully you're able to take. A couple other things that I found from the story is, well, take advantage of the resources around you. So you obviously started some of this with the help of the hub, the startup incubator at UT Scarborough.
Yeah.
But whatever school you're in, the chances are there is some sort of entrepreneurial program in there, or go to the city, or go to your community group. There's so many of them around the city, and sometimes they're not so well marketed. But if you know someone and they can point you in the right direction, then you have access to a lot of resources, a lot of partners, a lot of people thinking the same thing. Sometimes that's all it takes as well.
100%.
And the other lesson was, well, sometimes you have to fall before you learn, because possibly these so-called failures, these quote-unquote failures, were the reason that why you're able to be a little bit more successful now. So,
That's right.
I'd love if you kind of shared after university, graduated, the shared experience underneath your belt. Like, what was that transition into all the successes that you're working on right now?
Okay, so after that little failure, I have to also mention one thing that happened like drastically and changed my life during the process.
Okay.
Is that I got married at
Okay.
22, and then that's when I'm doing share, right?
Yeah.
And then me and my wife are still happily married right now too, after this many years. So
Nice.
that's actually a life-changing event where it kind of leads me to something more solid, something
Okay.
more hands-on, and something that I can really learn and grow from.
Okay.
So the mindset changes, right? Back then I was thinking, hey, you know what? Let's be like Mark Zuckerberg. Let's be like Elon, and you know what? Just start up something from the ground up. And
Yeah.
after failing a million times, maybe I can land a big panel, right?
Yeah.
But then I feel like the lack of knowledge, the lack of experience in just being a business, managing a business, was actually the reason why we failed here at. So I really learned from the failure of the business, and I was like, hey, you know what? Because now I'm married to, I need to have something like hands-on I can learn from. Let's start from the ground up. So that's how I was looking at the education industry. I was looking at the franchise. So because again, there are, from my understanding, there are a couple of ways to lead to entrepreneurship. But my two ways that I know the best is if you are in the industry for a long time, you know the experience, you know how to deal with the customer, you know how the system work. You can, you know, quit the job and start your own business. Basically, a coffee shop, and then, you know, do it better, right? That's one way. Another way is that starting learning from the industry elite, industry best, which in this case, I chose that way, is that, yes, I know that there's going to be franchise fees, there's going to be cost associated with it, but that's basically equal to the cost, the time cost that you are actually having to work for someone, right? So I chose the different paths. I'm like, hey, you know what? Let's go into the franchise industry, and let's explore what kind of franchise I want to do, and education specifically. So that's why I ended up with the franchise that I'm operating right now. So
that's awesome.
You might want to ask, hey, Tony. So you know, you're gonna have human resource, you're gonna have the funding as well, right? You want to have the capital as well. So where did you actually get the funding from? So again, I wanted to be ultimately transparent. During my 4 years of university, you know, a lot of kids, all of us have OSAP, right?
Okay.
So we at OSAP, we have. So this long story short is that we have grants from OSAP.
Okay.
A lot of us would use that grants to buy new laptops. Even some I know some of my friends buy new cars and go on vacation and stuff like that. And because back then I was working in TD, I had some of my own personal saving. Okay. And also, one of my colleagues told me, "Hey, Tony, invest in the marijuana stock." I have no idea what the marijuana stock market is. Again, this is by chance. It's just my luck, right?
Yeah.
So I put all my OSAP grants into that. Back then it was called CGC. I believe it's Canopy Growth Corporation. Okay. Then when it becomes the bigger corporation called WEED, literally weed. And when Canada legalized marijuana, I had my first bucket of gold from my OSAT.
Right.
So
Right.
I would tell you that maybe we can summarize that later. Is that when you're in university, even after university, for the first couple of years you're working, be frugal, save and invest in a good way, so that you can have your first bucket of gold or capital to start off your own empire. Because just having your brain, having a relationship or network is not enough. You have to somehow find your first bucket of gold, and that gold can be from anywhere. Just everything has to be within the legal sphere. As long as that's it, you can. I'm just gonna say, you can drive Uber to save your bucket of gold. You can work for someone day and night, save your first bucket of gold. After 5-6 years, you save enough, and that's your first lump sum. And if you're so urged to enjoy life, buying a luxury product, buying a luxury cars, or luxury real estate, that's not smart. I would even rent and put my money into a business or investment or a real estate, other than putting my money into the consumption or having more debt for myself. So I think that's one of the smartest thing I've ever done, is to live frugal during that period of time and use whatever I have to initiate my first business or the first money-making machine.
That's awesome. I think that's one of the most important lessons that young folks need, is learning how to manage their money, right? So as you said, live frugally, learn about investments, like whether it's stocks, whether it's real estate or anything, or business, right? Make investments instead of cars and vacations and whatever, concert tickets and things like that, right? Those experiences are great, but oftentimes, if you really want to get ahead, invest, and hopefully, like, someone points you to a bucket of gold. But be careful, because not all buckets of gold are created equal.
That's right.
Because I know that some folks would have done something similar for, let's say, crypto, right?
Yes.
So if you got in at the right time, you made a lot. If you got in at the wrong time,
you will lose a lot.
Exactly. Right? So just be careful about that. But again, just learn how money works, and investment, I think, is a huge lesson that, the schools don't do that great of a job. So if you can surround yourself with like-minded friends, get some resources or what have you, there's so many out there that I encourage folks to learn.
And especially podcasts like that, man, I really mean it. One of the greatest education that we can have is listen to other people sharing their experiences and ideas. Just like you, Luki, you have created this platform for other people to learn. So this is definitely, it's great deeds, right? So definitely encouraged. I definitely encouraged a lot of people to watch your podcast as well.
Sounds good. So thanks for the word of endorsement, Tony. And as we kind of close off the podcast, if you wanted to share some additional swipe, the stuff I wish I knew earlier. I know you shared a lot throughout the journey, whether it be getting some financial advice or surrounding yourself with smart people, or even sometimes turning the perspective from like something horrible into something that's helpful. And even no dream too small or too big, whatever the slogan was. I don't think I said it properly, but what are some other piece of advice that you'd have for your younger self, or that you'd want to emphasize if you've already shared some of it?
So one of the most important thing that I've learned over the past few years is you need to read, period. Okay. Right? So back then I wasn't a kid who loved reading, and I actually disliked reading. It's boring. Eventually boring, right? So there are two ways that I feel like, actually 3 ways to know the knowledge or know the experience. First is by experiencing it, right? You do it for a longer time, you have that knowledge, you know it. Second is by having a mentor, for example, like Luki. You are able to teach, you're able to showcase a lot of experiences, a lot of valuable advices. The third way is reading. Because when you're reading, you're actually reading a lot of great minds, a lot of great success stories, and you can have countless experiences shared to you just in one glance. Buy a Kindle, right? If you don't have the ebook, buy the actual paper book. If you don't want to have the paper book, listen to audibles, right? All these, and including podcasts as well. And I can't tell you how many great podcasts about real estate investment, about business I've listened to. And it just, all of them, maybe one of them, two of them is not that good. But if you're accumulating all the experiences, all the knowledge that you have acquired from the podcast, from the book, from the audiobooks and everything, it's tremendous assets to yourself. So if I were younger, let's say 14, 13, if I were to write a note to him, I'll be like, hey, you read right now. Yeah. So I would definitely want to mention that one of the books that actually kind of opened my eyesight to, I believe a lot of people actually read it too. It's called Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. This is one of the greatest book I've ever read, and this is really my the starting book for me to understand money, understand assets, understand real estate, and understand business as well. So definitely recommend everyone to just grab a copy. So even right now, I sometimes buy paper copies and give it to my staff. Because some of my staff, they're just university kid or high school kid, right? So I wanted to influence them. I just told them, hey, read the book. I know probably you won't read it, but at least I give it to you. Read it. If you want to have some, if you want to share some knowledge, let me know. We can have a conversation to that, right? So that's the first thing. So definitely, reading is the greatest thing that human being can do, right?
Sure.
Okay. And the second thing that I wish I know when I was younger is that always develop yourself first, right? So the nice stuff, the nice clothes, luxury brands, all the physical stuff, that's just for show. That's to change other people's perception of you. But really, you can tell whether you have the knowledge or not, whether you have the power or not.
Right.
For a human being, I feel like the greatest power you can have is the self-development and the self-discipline to develop yourself. So always work on yourself first. This is not only limited to physically, right? You can build muscles, but it's also related to mentally, spiritually, and financially, right? We're living in a world where we need all these aspects to build a human character. And then I wish that I was younger. I started to realize that, hey, you know what? I want to build myself first. Maybe mentally first, spiritually then, physically then, and then financially. So I would say that financial always comes last. You have to always build you as a human character first. You have to make yourself likable. People wants to be associated with you, right? People feel fun when they're with you. People feel excited. Hey, I see Tony today again. Great. I'm going to do some great things with him. So, and last but not least, that's actually marry early.
Okay.
I know I'm always saying this as a joke as well. But I really benefited from my marriage a lot. My wife has helped me tremendously over the past few years. I don't know, like I wouldn't be the Tony I am without her. Yeah. So that's the last one is really a joke, but
No, it's completely serious. I mean, but marry early if you find the right person.
Got it.
I would put that caveat. Like, don't marry for the sake of marriage.
Yeah, you got it.
I think there's a lot of wonderful insights in there, and if we kind of go back, so obviously, marry if you find the right person, right? But take your time if you don't find that. Developing yourself first. I'm reminded of like the typical airplane announcements where like you put your mask on first before others, because when you take care of yourself, it just makes it so much easier
100%.
to take care of other people around you.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm reminded of another quote that says, in life you get paid in two things, experience and money. You take the experience first and then the money will come.
That's right.
So that's, in essence, investing in yourself as well, where sometimes the experience is at the loss of nice new clothes, nice new car, nice new whatever.
You got it.
But that will compound on itself later. And then the last part about the reading, I think is quite interesting, where I recall there's like a story of like Warren Buffett and like Bill Gates, where they were asked like, what is the one superpower that you'd want? And they both said like speed reading.
Speed reading. There we go.
Mm-hmm. Because it's consuming a lot of the information. And I remember someone comparing it to, if you recall the movie The Matrix.
Oh yeah.
Back in The Matrix, he would like download something. He says, "Oh, I know kung fu," right? But if you think about it, someone might take like 10 years, 5 years to write a book, and in, I don't know, maybe a week and a half, you can learn the equivalent of 10 years in a week and a half.
Okay.
So that's, well, not exactly as fast.
That's why I highly recommend Audible.
Yes.
Again, I'm not under any sponsorship. Audible allows you to go, I believe, up to four times the speed. So right now, when I listen to a book, it's almost always 3 times or twice, right?
Wow.
So the 3 times can give you the information like inside. And then when you are having a period of time that you're just listening to the book, you're dedicated to it, and you can just punch in the information to you. And I'll tell you that most of the time, if you just read it one time, you can grasp the major information. But if you think that this book is worth for you to listen it twice, you read it again. In this time, even faster speed. In this case, you're catching the small little details that you missed for the first time. So that's how, this is how I read right now. When I drive, because it's a long distance for me to go to work. When I drive, I listen. When I work out, I listen. Sometimes I have my free time, I also listen to. For reading, I read paper. I like paper books. I actually don't like the digital version. So I do paper books or audibles.
That's amazing. And I was chatting with someone else where like reading is the one true like human thing that you can do, because no other animal on the planet can read.
You got it.
Well, as far as we know, who knows?
Yes.
Maybe dolphins can. They have their own secret language or whatever. But that's really the true human thing you can do. So to have the human experience. Now it's interesting with a lot of the new technologies and things like that. Like people don't really write, but you still always need to read.
Yes,
right?
that's right.
So definitely lots of food for thought in there. And wondering if you could share a little bit about some of your future aspirations. What can we look forward to hearing from you? And then maybe where can folks reach out if they want to connect with you?
Okay, so I wouldn't say really it's a future aspiration, right? My main goal in the future is to be able to. So that's the little goal for myself, is to able to manage a company that has at least 100 employees.
Okay.
I want to have a big corporation that I be able to provide full-time jobs. I will be able to accomplish my goals and deliver whether a service or product to my clients and customers. And the brands is under my name. So as you can tell, that most like the 3 major things I'm doing, 2 of them are franchise. I'm still on the learning path, right? Although I'm managing business, I'm still on a learning path. I'm borrowing other people's brand, but only the real estate part. It's our own name. Yeah, we call it Mumu Realty.
Okay.
So it's actually me, my brother, and my wife. We're 3 people having this corporation together. So our final goal is that we want to be able to custom design, custom build. So that's our final goal. We want to get into the real estate business, and we want to get into, and we are already in the business, and we want to be able to scale and do better in this industry. Because everyone needs a roof over the head, right? And then Canada right now is having a lot of problem with the housing market as well.
Sure.
So in the future, I believe that housing is still going to be a concern. So this is an industry. Definitely technology, definitely pharmaceuticals. All this industry, we as human beings we need. But just in the foreseeable future, when I see that the real estate market, the real estate business will be the business that I'm going to go into. So that's my future aspiration.
That's awesome. And if folks want to reach out and connect with you, where should they head to?
So normally I use text message. I actually use Instagram less. I use social media very, very, very occasionally now, because most of the time for the faster communication, just a call or text message.
Okay.
Yeah. So they can reach out me at my phone number or email me anytime. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions or get connected.
Sounds good. So we'll put all that information in the show notes. And thanks so much, Tony, for sharing your journey. And obviously, there's a lot more to come. And hopefully, folks will take a look at Mumu Realty for their real estate and housing needs out there. And yeah, we're looking forward to hearing more about your journey. And hopefully, we'll have you back for a future episode.
No problem. Thanks so much, Luki.
Thanks, Tony. Take
Bye.
care. Thanks for joining us on the Swike Stuff I Wish I Knew Earlier, the podcast. If you like the podcast, please subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you found this podcast. And if you can give us a review, that would be very appreciated. Feel free to contact me on LinkedIn at Lukidanu, Lukidanu, and the same on most social media platforms. And I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks. Bye.